Wednesday is a good day to reflect on what you've achieved so far and also to set your intentions for the rest of the week. It's a beautiful, lovely Wednesday morning. Welcome to today's show. This is West Breakfast hashtag. What are you saying? My name is Omoto Shola Sharimaki, and with me are the ladies. Everybody's dressed in colorful colors, sharp and bright colors. What's going on? Who
It's
is breaking
God's
the news?
beauty birthday. I can't keep calm. It's God's beauty
Thank you so much,
birthday.
my love.
Birthday.
Thank you so
Happy
much.
birthday, God's beauty,
Thank you.
Israel.
Thank you.
She's just
Literally.
glowing.
I've always
Honestly.
See the bling bling. Left, right, center,
left, right,
everywhere.
and center.
How are you ladies doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
How's the birthday feeling? What do you feel like? Do you feel like
Hey.
you're flying in the sky?
Flying,
You
kid.
know?
She's acting humble, you know.
I get it. I get
Afterwards,
it.
we're going to do the real party. We get it.
I mean, I feel like my birthdays are actually days to just reflect on like the previous.
I
or
guess
the
my
things
coach
you've
resonates
achieved.
more with you.
You see,
Reflect.
Yeah, no, honestly, like that's what you do because I was speaking to Nilo today and I'm like, okay, it's a new for me. It's more like this is how like my year just started. Because like it's a 1 year now done and it's a new one, so it's more like just seeing what the things that's happened previously, try to learn from the mistakes and work forward. So that's how I see my
Happy birthday, my love.
Thank
I'm
you
trying to
so
use her
much,
word,
my
my
love.
love. Happy birthday, my love.
Thank you so much, my love.
Honestly, how are you doing?
I don't want to spoil the birthday mood, but I'm doing great. Let me just say I'm doing great. I'm okay. I thank the Lord. I'm expectant. I'm hopeful. Praise the Lord.
Okay. For me, I'm in a very great mood because aside God's which is birthday, very close person's birthday today is also today. So this is me wishing Ambassador Yomi David happy birthday. God
Happy
bless your
birthday.
new age.
Happy
God bless
birthday.
everything. Thank you for being a great person. Today is a great day. I don't
It's
know.
a
July
really
bonds
great
are
day.
awesome people.
No, we are awesome. We are awesome.
Yes. So we'll go on a quick break right now. When we're back, we'll go straight to headlines across the globe. Please be on standby. Glad to have you back on the show. And now it's time to review some of the stories that are trending on today's newspaper. And today we will be reviewing the Punch newspaper, the Guardian newspaper, and the New York Times. And I'll be starting with the Guardian newspaper. There are a lot of headlines on this newspaper, and I'll be starting with the major headline, which reads, just a minute. The major headlines, which read, new electricity tariff blackout looms as universities struggle with 2.2 billion naira bill monthly. Wow. The next story here says NCDC warns of rising yellow fever cases as cholera deaths hit 103. Right under it, police officer nabbed for armed robbery in Kogi State. And then the story that follows says drug scarcity looms as pharmaceutical companies suspend raw materials importation. Court issues arrest warrant on Kuje prison physician over Bina's executive. And the story from NLC says, NLC vows 1 month protest if NAS pass obnoxious wage law. Health insurance mandatory for residents as Sanwo-Olu earmarked 5 billion naira to complete NYSC camp in Lagos State. Kano presses fresh charges against Ganduje as House OK's second. The next story here says, then, finally, on the Guardian newspaper, Oba Akinlolu begs Nigerians for prayers, patience on Tinubu's behalf. And the major headline that piqued my interest is that of the new electricity tariff as blackout looms. And blackout looms as 11 universities struggle with 2.92 billion naira monthly bill. This is outrageous. Since we've moved the tariff from 68 naira to 252 naira, and then they brought it back to 238 naira, there's been issue. Even sometimes last week we took a story where hospitals, I think Laston and one hospital in the southeast complained of how much they are paying for light. And it won't make sense if we're going to a hospital and they're trying to conserve light. They say, okay, turn off this thing. We cannot turn on this. We cannot do that. It doesn't make sense. So I feel like that conversation still needs to be revisited, because I, as a person, I'm paying a lot for light bill, but because I stay, it's a residential area, I still know how to turn off this. Okay, I stop eating toast bread. I stop blending pepper and blending things that are necessary. Those blend smoothie, turn off the AC, turn off the fan at the same time. I try to conserve on that. But in schools, in universities, I mean, with the SUG union come and declare, okay, from 8 to 9, don't turn on the lights or from. I don't feel.
Schools, like at a point, they had to regulate how,
the light should
the
be
light,
on.
yeah. So some particular areas can have lights now and then, maybe in the evening, but it's not always like that. So I guess that regulation will be coming on.
So maybe the school fees will be increased again, because
Please,
if the bill is too much, why would they get money to finance the monthly electricity bill?
Everything goes back to minimum wage.
Lucy, please, let's go to the next newspaper.
All right, the Punch newspaper has the major headline reading, Local Government Autonomy, 13 states rush to hold council polls. Bauchi fixes local government poll for August 19. Kogi election holds October 19. Jigawa, Yemoh, Anambra, Abia, Katsina, Kebbi, Benue set for exercise. 1 killed, journalist shot in Kenya fresh protest. And court declines Emefiele's request for foreign medical trip. Crypto billionaire, technopreneur arrested for alleged fraud, terrorism funding. U.S. promises timely delivery of attack helicopters to Nigeria. Above the major headline, we see food security. Reps invite CDS minister over ungoverned spaces. And NNPCL meets military, police to curb oil theft. Federal government warns 22 states of 5-day massive flooding. And on minimum wage, Labour threatens 30-day strike, alleges plan to decentralize talks. When you ended your story, I'm like, everything boils down to what? Minimum wage. So the Nigerian Labour Congress on Tuesday threatened to shut down the country for a month in protest against plans by the National Assembly to deregulate the national minimum wage. NLC's threats came as the nation awaits a new national minimum wage following months of negotiations between organized labor, the federal government, and the organized private sector. So the NLC president further stated that we don't have a situation where people determine their wages that amounts to some level of illegality. In the Constitution, there's a provision for equal work for equal pay. So if we go into job analysis and job evaluation, we may discover that a clerk here may be doing the same work as a clerk in Sokoto. So yeah, we're still going back and forth with the whole minimum wage stuff. And what's looming right now is the threat of another strike. When I read this news, I remember what happened when ASU went on strike, that there was one 8-month strike that happened at a point. Yeah. And of course, ASU now, they will always threaten strike and they will carry out their threats. Yeah. But there was consequences. I mean, I think lecturers their salaries for 8 months was delayed. And before it started coming back, it took a whole lot of time. And I think even at this point now, they're a bit slow to take some strike action because of what they experienced the other time. So I'm considering that. I'm looking at what's happening in Labour, with Labour Congress right now. And I'm really hoping that the threat of a strike is just to actually get the government to put structures and systems in place to allow this workout. And it shouldn't bounce back, because many times you put out strike, and the government says, okay, you're striking, Abi. Let us see how that goes. So
The interesting of it all is
okay.
is the fact that this is coming amidst the purchase of the president's jet. I mean, it was sighted in France. It has been tailed. They've put Nigerian symbol on it, and they're to be sent to Nigeria pretty soon. God bless Nigeria.
Just to add into it, I mean, I was watching the prime time yesterday, right? And I had like the boss speaking when she was saying something around, you people will be the ones to come out and say, oh, there's no money. You people are still the ones coming to our faces.
Things.
Like,
Yeah.
How do we balance this truth?
Bro.
Do we really have the money or not?
Like, I don't want, let me not say anything because like
It's
this now, I'm already getting pissed. So let my mood not be spoiled. All right, so the New York Times newspaper, right? We have top right of the newspaper has Vance, a one-time critic of Trump, is selected as his running mate. But the left side of the newspaper has George Ward's case about documents that Trump kept. All right, special counsel's appointment is ruled improper and appeal is planned. Middle of the newspaper has for the GOP, that's the grand old party, free market economics in history. Beneath that, Secret Service faced scrutiny over rooftop lapses. Next to that, first, gunshot, moments later, disinformation. The last headline has, in Japan, children's book bag holds generations of tradition. All right, the headline that I want to touch on, I won't say this one intrigues me or is interesting now, but what the headline I want to talk on, it says for the GOP, that's the Grand Old Party, free market economics is history. All right, in summary of that headline, right, it explains that during Donald Trump presidency, there was significant shift away from the Republican Party traditional support for free market economics. Now, the new 2024 Republican platform, which outlines the party's goal and policy, continues this trend by emphasizing different priorities. So right now, I mean, one thing is to have a good party that has a good manifestos and had like an idea on what they want to do for the country, right? Another thing now is to put in the right person. So during the time Trump time as the president, right, he kind of deviated from the initial plan for the Republican Party has. But right now, since he's going again, he wants to be president again. They are not telling him that this is what we should do, this is what should be in place, and he's following suit. So they include tariff and manufacturing, we have deportation, we have fiscal policy, and we have trade and inflation. So they are trying as much as possible to make sure that the market, the business market, and every other aspect that has to do with America is well taken care of. So that's all I have for the New York Times. Thank you.
Thank you very much for flying. Oh, wow.
Holy
Oh,
Ghost.
wow.
Are you sure that it's not as chaotic? Do you really
you
know
know,
what
if
goes
it's-
down?
Hey.
You really don't know what goes down. No.
I mean, that's the thing. That's one thing newspaper will just come and tell you what they think we need to hear.
The
Right?
algorithm there. Well, if you are here to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Official of Great TV, click the subscribe button now, like and share to family and friends. Today, we are going to be having a conversation that is oftentimes not discussed. Just last week, we talked about PCOS, which is one of the major health issues among the females. But today, we are going to be seeking answers to the questions, should men's mental health be prioritized? And we'll be joined later by a mental health enthusiast and a thought leader and a youth mentor to discuss this topic. We'll go on a quick break right now. When we return, we'll move straight into the conversation. Please stay with us.
Imagine the world where the voices of the youth finally get the spotlight they deserve.
Welcome to Ways Breakfast, the groundbreaking show where young minds unite together to tackle issues that truly matter.
We're flipping the script on traditional morning talk shows, and this is your chance to hear the youth speak out.
We're not just skimming headlines, we're diving deep into the heart of topics that impact us all.
From politics to governance, tech innovations, mental health, and trendy social issues.
We don't just discuss, we ignite conversations that inspire change and spark action.
Join us every morning for fresh, young, and vibrant perspectives
that empowers the next generation to make a difference.
Start your day right with Ways Breakfast, because when the youth speak, the world listens. Ways Breakfast, weekdays at 8 a.m. live on Upgrade TV.
My name is Olaban Ralph Obionha. We offer you a wonderful shopping experience when you come to Olario Furniture. It's safe for you to park here. We have a lot of parking space. It's relaxing. It's peaceful when you come here. And we have all the products that you need. We have the expertise that you need for your interior design process. Just come. This is a one-stop shop for you to design your project, whether hospitality, commercial, or residential. You are at the right place when you come in. We solve all your problems that you have.
The truth is, there's really no science to preventing suicide. It hasn't been found. I think the reason it hasn't been found is because it's something that happens to the person on their own. But when people die by suicide, then you realize that there's someone close to them who knew what they were going through. Someone in his family knew that he'd been depressed. It might not be a lot of people in the family, but somebody knew. There's someone he told. There's a friend that knows too, that was just always there saying, fighting, I'm here for you, if you need anything. Or maybe they don't even have to say it in that way, but there's one person aware. So at the end of the day, because there is no way to directly say this person is going to die, I think that the most that we can do is try to, for us that are living, for the rest of the people that are still hearing us, that are still considering it, to say, because we know that one person is aware, maybe you can take the step for yourself to tell maybe a professional to get you the help that you need. Because someone like CEO of Conga, he's exposed, he's traveled, he's seen the world, he has money, he has a family. He knows that suicide isn't the way out. That's not the message that it was thinking of at the end of the day. So I just want to say that, like, the person that's out there, that knows that this is what it is for you, just try and, it changes life. It keeps going. Try and get the help that you need. That's what I can say.
It's a pleasure to have you back. If you're just joining us, this is West Breakfast Hashtag. What are you saying? And as mentioned earlier, we will be talking about men's mental health and if it should be prioritized. And we'll be having this conversation with a thought leader, a youth enthusiast, and just a bit, I'm trying to get the full bio of our guest and ensure that I'm not leaving out any details. Okay, so we'll be talking about why it is crucial for men's mental health to be prioritized. I mean, why are men oftentimes frequently neglected and stigmatized? We'll be having this conversation with Miracle Yemoh. This is a friend of the house, the thought leader. He focuses on improving leadership and political dynamics in Africa. He has a track record right from 2015 up until now. He has also initiated a couple project, led a couple speeches, led a couple symposium, and here he is in the studio with us. Good morning to you, Miracle.
Good
Yemoh,
morning.
my namesake. Hi, good morning.
morning.
But that's my name. My name is what's Mira? What's Miracle?
She not get like the short form out of it.
Nah, and I left the long one for
Okay, I
you.
will not be a hater.
How are you doing? Glad to have you join us this morning. So, I want to talk about men's mental health. I mean, it is believed that as a man, you should not have the conversation. You should not talk. I even saw it on Twitter that, oh, for me to open my mouth and tell my girlfriend what I'm going through, I'd rather swallow gunpowder, I'd rather do this and all of that. So why is it that men do not want to talk? We understand the fact that society made men men, right? But aren't men allowed to be vulnerable? Aren't men allowed to express how they feel? Aren't men allowed to cry? Because I'm not sure. I think the day I would say a man drop a tear, I would be so happy because I feel like it's so rare to come by.
So thank you very much once again, Mira. Okay, so I'm going to say like a quick joke. So I stayed in Ghana with my auntie. So the brother died. And when the brother died, and everybody was crying. When everyone was crying, and they asked her, why is she crying? She said she's not crying because he's dead. She's crying because of the money they will use to take care of the... This is what I feel, you know.
Okay, sorry, we have to hold your thought. Let's go on a quick break. Yes, we'll be right back in a moment.
One of our major problems as Nigerians is we the Nigerians. So the fact that we don't care or love ourselves, we don't care or love our country, we have no loyalty to anyone. We always, and when we have issues in Nigeria, when issues come up, we throw the religious and ethnic, cards to suit our personal and selfish desires. When it comes to election, you are my brother. But when I get into government and I'm eating, I don't try to bring you who is educated and fit for the position, but rather I'll give it to someone who will give me a cut. So we do all these things for selfish desires. And that is how we've gotten to where we are. Because if you are not able to be honest and have high morals and integrity, when it gets to the point of also, when you have stained your hands, it now becomes almost impossible for you to be the same person who will sit on that seat and be part of a committee that they will put together to persecute someone because your hands are dirty.
Glad to have you back. We're still having the conversation around men's mental health and why it should be prioritized. Miracle, sir, you were saying something before I cut into your stream of thoughts.
So what I was trying to say is, you see, it's not that sometimes men don't cry or probably men are not vulnerable. I think for me, that it's just the nature of a man, really. It's just the nature of a man. And when I mean the nature of a man is that oftentimes, the nature of a man doesn't respond to only feelings. So something is going wrong, and then I'm just emotional about it. So the way a woman expresses her emotions is always different from the way a man actually expresses.
Why is it different?
Because it is different. It is different because we're all different as human beings here.
Right.
One. And the fact that we're different as human beings is what actually makes a man also different when expressing their emotions, whenever probably they're going through stuff. But then, it doesn't mean that a man can't cry. And I don't buy the idea that you can't cry, you shouldn't cry as a man. But sometimes there are situations that don't make you cry. And it's not because maybe you don't want to cry, but some situations don't make you cry. Okay, let's say, for example, you're married, and then you need to take care of the children, the family, and then you lost your job and all that. As a man right there, you can't be crying.
When you remember you have wife to take care of, you have rent to renew,
Okay.
you have
you
monthly
will cry,
estate service charge to pay, you have to fill your car. Maybe at that time you're expecting that month's salary. I feel like it's fair for you to cry.
Yeah.
You see, yeah, it sounds, okay, let me put it this way. I won't categorize all men as the same. Yeah. But the way it works with a man is this. Speaking from my own point of view, is that we think about action. Yeah. So something is wrong.
I want to sort it first.
Yeah. What's the solution? Sometimes I don't know about women, but sometimes a woman will probably want to cry first, feel bad, and then
Honestly,
probably,
it's not even all women.
Yeah, it's exactly,
Thank you for saying that.
So that's something I don't know about a woman, but for a man, they want to find a solution. So you've not paid. You won't sit in the house and be crying. No, what you probably do, you probably will not cry in the house in front of the kids. And there's something about, a man being strong is the fact that I think, with my experience so far being an elder brother to a younger sister, and also was also taking care of my siblings, is that we sometimes, as men, we're mindful of our actions here. We're mindful of the impact it has on people around us. So, sometimes it's not because we don't want to cry about certain things. It's not because we don't want to feel emotional about it. But sometimes doing that, it doesn't send the right message. And now, there's also the aspect that men sometimes we do not express themselves. But this is how it works. See, society really doesn't give room for it. And there's nothing we can do about it sometimes, I tell you. Like sometimes there's nothing we can do about it. Society doesn't really give room for it. For example, let's say that I'm trying to find a perfect example. Let's say society expects that, okay, maybe you're in the family as a man, you're meant to actually take care of your family. And naturally, society demands that you would look for whatever it takes. Whatever it takes, you have to take care of your family because you're a man. Take care of your family. Now, you see, that's a societal norm that you have to look for money. So that thing also affects other area of our lives as men. So I'm feeling bad about something. I can't really say it because really society doesn't really care. The most important thing is get it done. So it's not left for how a man chooses the company he keeps, and then he's able to actually open up himself around the circle he keeps. But in the public, naturally, a man will never come out in the public to actually feel bad about something, to make you feel like he's being emotional. So that's what I think from being a man point of view. And there are also men that, probably they're raised by single mothers, yeah, and then they've always seen their mom cry, and it's not their fault. So men, they know how to be emotional because of sometimes they've been trained by only one parent. And so that way, then if something hits him hard like this, just start crying because probably as I'm thinking of single.
You sounded like, why is he crying? Why is he going to cry? Why?
No,
you made the cry feel.
You see, that's the thing here. Eventually, when you cry about whatever is making you cry, you still have to do the job.
But then you're better.
Expressing. Yes.
Okay, let's do this. Okay, let's do this. Let's do this now. What makes you feel that men? Okay, what's the idea of the man? What's the idea of what man should be like?
Let's start with Oluchi.
I've been hearing a lot of thoughts.
I am now.
So about that tears issue, of course, sometimes tears can just be all about pity party. And I want someone to just tell me sorry. And some people they always like to bring out water from their eyes. But if you are looking at it wholesomely, when you cry sometimes, you're expressing vulnerability. Yes. And you are calling for help. And this is the problem that we have with some men. Because of the masculinity, mindset and makeup of a man. I mean, let me use this example. Growing up, if I have brothers, right? If my brothers come back from school and then they report to my parents or my mother and my father that somebody beat me up in school, what's going to be their first response? How can they be beating you in school? Why? Because you are a boy. Yeah. But if I was the one who reported that somebody beat me up in school, they probably follow me to school the next day and say, please don't touch my daughter, nothing should happen to my daughter, but they expect the man to stand up for himself, and that's okay. I mean, in society, the men should take up responsibility as much as the women, but that tears thing, it doesn't show weakness. That's what we're trying to push out. Tears isn't weakness. Tears just shows that you're vulnerable enough to receive help.
Yeah.
And many men shield themselves from that help. They try to handle it all by themselves. They get so overwhelmed, and at the end of the day, they begin to separate themselves from family. So my question, I've already landed my point. My question is, I gave an instance of family dynamics, how, parents react and treat different gender of their children. How can parents actually help their male children, their boys, to become much more vulnerable and not see it as a form of weakness?
Okay, now you see, that area of weakness here has to be explained well. Now, okay, so I lost my mom in 2001, and my siblings were all crying. Okay, the only time I cried was when she almost died, because I was already feeling like, this one is gone, though. But then after they took her to the hospital, I couldn't cry anymore. And I couldn't cry. I really wanted to cry, but I still could not cry. And so, see, they don't do it deliberately because they want to see the worst in you. But sometimes human beings are human beings. We all make mistakes. And sometimes some other type of human beings want to see the weakness part of you. And that's why I believe that, see, fine, you should cry as a man, cry. And the example you made mention of here, if you think about it very well, that man, your brother, would get married. And then whosoever he gets married to would expect that you would defend me as my husband. You see how it works here? So that's why, for me, I think that if a man will ever be vulnerable, he should never be vulnerable in the public. Now, why am I saying that?
So there are exceptions to this.
Yeah, look, now this is my point of view. Why am I saying this? It's because, trust me, yeah, if you're into politics and you see the way politics work, yeah, people want to bring the worst out of you. People want to paint you. People want to see you cry. Yeah, pinch you so hard that they want to see something come out from you. And I think that as men, yeah, we should be able to protect ourselves. Now, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't be vulnerable. So it means we choose who we get vulnerable with. It's not just being vulnerable. Because eventually, if you get vulnerable in the public, and the people know how to actually, pick you, so they know where to actually touch in such a way that your worst will come out. Just like here, they always say that don't push people to the wall unless you will see what eventually comes. So it's the same with men too. Because eventually, when you're telling a man to be vulnerable, eventually you will not like the aspect of him constantly being vulnerable. Yeah. Because then there's certain things he would have, certain decisions he has to make that he can't make because why? He has to be vulnerable, and he won't be able to take tough decisions. And I think that's the dynamics, and that's the unique thing about a woman and a man.
I like to ask a question, but I like God's beauty to ask because let her ask her questions. Let's see if it relates to what I like to say.
No, because I hear you now when you say that being very vulnerable stops you from a whole lot of things. Because, I mean, just like she said, right, it's not a sign of weakness. It's something that I feel like, and it doesn't stop you from having the right or making the right decisions. Because everything you're saying now is more like, if when you're expecting a man to make decisions, that's when he's being vulnerable. No. Or that's when he wants to cry or wants to. I don't think so, right? You definitely would have an issue, something that's really, really bothering you, or something that is disturbing your spirit. That's the only reason why you would want to tear up. Check out what I'm saying. So I feel like we need to start working on the societal perception or perspective when it comes to men's mental health, right? Now I want to ask you, how do you think we can advocate or campaign for this? Because we are seeing it as it's a normal thing, or men are not supposed to be. No, I feel like this is very important because see, when you see that you see people start having some certain kind of characters, you see men not able to listen to you. The truth is, when you face some certain kind of challenges, right, and you don't speak up, you don't meet people, you don't go to probably a therapist talk to, right? You will start getting overwhelmed. And guess what? Your character, your lifestyle, everything intends to change because you're no longer that person. You now have this rage, or because you're trying to bottle up something that you're supposed to actually just spill out. So how do we change this narrative? How do we speak to the society? Because literally it's actually from the society.
So that's a very good point here. So now let me take it one by one.
Okay.
So this is it. So the fact that a man is able to talk and open up doesn't really mean that he's even being vulnerable. Sometimes, that's why sometimes therapists teach people how to express themselves. So it's one thing to express yourself and one thing to know how to really constructively express yourself.
Okay.
You could be in a situation where you want a man to actually talk. He will talk. But eventually when he talks, you will know that the family will not, the place will be very odds. Now, I'm really not saying that men should not be vulnerable. But you see, when you are saying that, I think what we should really advocate for is that how can a man constructively be vulnerable? Because if you say be vulnerable, it's really deep here.
Explain your constructively
vulnerable. So this is it here. So I had an argument yesterday, and I was being insulted, and then different people were just giving insults and all that, and I was pissed. I was really pissed. I was really, really pissed. I wanted to also
give your own.
Give my own, but I was calm. I was really calm. I said, I understand how you feel, and your feelings are valid. And all of them that kept saying, I understand how you feel. I understand how you feel. I understand how you feel. And and I'm like, I do get angry, but if I get angry like the way you're actually getting angry right now, I think right now,
this place goes scatter.
Man, this place will. So sometimes, if I wanted to be vulnerable at that time, trust me, being vulnerable at that time means that, man, I'm going to show you who I am too.
Okay.
Like, I'm going to really show you who I am too. I will show you, I can show you I can talk. And if I'm talking, you're like, yeah, okay. Yeah, it's being vulnerable right now. So you understand? But now, it doesn't mean that I'm not really being myself. No, so sometimes this is how it works. Sometimes we just don't act because we want to act. We act because we're thinking about the impact of our actions eventually. So we're thinking about the consequences of it. Yeah, sometimes, that's the burden of being a man, a responsible man sometimes. That not because you can't be vulnerable sometimes, it's because you can be. But in being vulnerable, there are consequences for being vulnerable as well too. So you choose. So, fine, I want to cry. I'm going through a lot. I want to feel bad. I have a family. I just probably go to the family, but I'm not going to do it in public, except on exceptional cases where it happens. Maybe I'm saying someone died, and then you just have to sympathize with them. And then you say, some tears have to come out. But it doesn't mean that I think that, the subject of men being vulnerable, really. Yes, I'm going to talk about how men can actually be vulnerable. You see, I will still go back to circle. Circle. I would not personally, now it's my opinion, I would not personally advise any man to publicly be vulnerable. No. Especially if you have something to protect, especially if you have families. I won't tell any man to do that.
But a female can be vulnerable regardless of what she has to protect or not.
So now this is it here. A female can be vulnerable. I don't want to sound this way, but I'm going to sound this way.
Sound the way you want to sound.
Because I know I have 3 women here.
Okay.
And then so if I start sounding like, oh, you're being feminist, so I'm going to say this here. A woman, people say that men and women are the same, but really, I really want to say yes, we're the same. I really want to say yes, we're the same, but in a way, trust me, we're not the same.
Okay.
They're shaking tables right now.
In a way, we are not still the same. Like, I think we complement each other as humans.
Right.
So the fact that there's a deficiency in a woman that a man covers up for, a man covers up for in a woman, and there's a deficiency in a man that a woman also covers up in a man. And that's how I see it. So that's how sometimes some men act as women, and they get married to a woman who acts as a man. some people might complain about it, but they still complement each other. But the areas too that the man will be a man and the woman will also be a woman. You know, so I think that men should know how to be vulnerable and not just be vulnerable. Like, not especially when you're a public person. Especially when probably like people have different opinion and assumptions about you and everything. You know, you just have to know how to be vulnerable. You just have to know how to be vulnerable in such a way that when it's time to express yourself and let people know this is what you stand for, you do it well and you do it well.
Please let me take it on that. When it's time to express your feelings, not to express it well. We are still having this conversation, but let's take a quick short break. We'll be back in a moment.
Imagine the world where the voices of the youth finally get the spotlight they deserve.
Welcome to Ways Breakfast, the groundbreaking show where young minds unite together to tackle issues that truly matter.
We're flipping the script on traditional morning talk shows, and this is your chance to hear the youth speak out.
We're not just skimming headlines, we're diving deep into the heart of topics that impact us all.
From politics to governance, tech innovations, mental health, and trendy social issues.
We don't just discuss, we ignite conversations that inspire change and spark action.
Join us every morning for fresh, young, and vibrant perspectives
that empowers the next generation to make a difference.
Start your day right with Ways Breakfast, because when the youth speak, the world listens. Ways Breakfast, weekdays at 8 a.m. live on Upgrade TV.
What are the things that would make Nigeria an easy place to do business in?
I think the first place for me where I would start is actually brand Nigeria. There's something you said about made in Nigeria products. I remember many years ago when the sort of Buy Nigerian movement started, right? It didn't happen overnight, but there was a conscientious effort, right, to get people to think Buy Nigerian. But I don't think it transcended beyond maybe the fashion industry, that sort of, it was only in certain sectors where Buy Nigerian actually, was able to take root. But today, you don't have confidence that you want to go and buy a Nigeria-made car. I remember at one point when the ride-hailing companies, I don't know which one of them, there was a whole flood of those innocent, small cars. Yes. You don't see any of them on the road anymore. So somebody asked the question around durability. We all know what our roads are like. We all know what drivers on the roads are like. And people ask themselves, what is the longevity of these vehicles, right? You see really, really old, foreign brands still on the road, still moving. But these particular sets of cars, at one point, you couldn't turn to your left, to your right without seeing them. They were white, so you couldn't miss them. Today, I can't remember the last time I saw one of those cars on the road. And these things stick in people's minds, right, when people see these things. So the concept for me of what is the Nigerian brand, because that alone is powerful enough in the mind of the consumer to start to say, I'm seeking out Nigerian brand.
If you took that to another level, you understand that if you're driving on the streets of Lagos, for instance, if you, as a private person, drives on BRT lane, the police will catch you. But if the bus driver, the danfo driver, enters the same lane, they'll probably wave at each other because the bus driver had purchased the license for impunity when he paid his dues in the morning. So you are not dealing with a society that is governed by law. The first time I was slapped by a policeman, I was 16 years old. I wasn't doing anything wrong. There was a riot going on, student protest at Oscars in Ife. There was a problem at Unifair in those days, and there was a riot. And I was going from my hall of residence, heading to the school campus to go and read. I didn't realize that there had been a resurgence of the protest and police were chasing students around, cops and robbers. So me, I was coming out of my hall of residence, heading to the school to go and read, and I ran into a policeman. And, you know, it was like in a cul-de-sac, we ran into each other, and he slapped me. He slapped me so hard, my books fell down. And the guy was just looking at me with his hand on his waistline. And in that moment, you know, he just, in fact, the way I wrote about it, when I eventually wrote about it years ago, I said I received sense. He slapped me so hard, I received sense.
Nigerians are not ready to suffer. Nigerians are not ready to suffer. Nigerians like soft life. You see what John said? If you want us to drink Gary, no, it's true. If you want us to drink Gary, everybody should just tighten their belt and let us drink the Gary and drink it. If we know we are drinking it for 1 month, let us drink it for 1 month and wait and let them find a solution. But you see, for every time you do this and somebody goes behind to say they want to have a meeting and they pause it, you are done for. I was in second university. We had a lecturer that did a very horrible thing to us. He didn't come to lecture for 1 day, gave us an exam from maths, because that exam, I don't know where those questions came from. Guess what happened? He gave us those exams, we protested, we shouted, we were not writing the exam, we left the exam hall. Somebody went and sat down back. Because that person went back, we all went back to sit down. And in the end, it was a massive failure, tsunami failure that happened. My lecturer came back, one of our lecturers came back and said, you guys are all fools. That next time, when you do that kind of protest, nothing should make you to go back to go and write that exam. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's the same thing with the labor. No, so every single time they call for a strike action, people go out.
Glad to have you back. We're still having the conversation. Should men's mental health be prioritized? And we're still discussing with Miracle Yemoh. And right before I went on a short break, I talked about how the societal pressure on females is quite different from that on the males. For the males, there's just societal pressure. Take care of your siblings, take care of your family. But for the females, in a month, I don't think every lady has 3 days to themselves, like that they are fully happy, no hormonal imbalance, no lahar period, no pre-period, no post-period, no period itself. So I feel like that alone is enough reason to make you emotional. You know, there are times as a lady, you don't even know how you feel. You're just there, right? Your new cap is hurting, your low abdomen is hurting. You just want to cry. You're just there. So I feel like that has made it like a pendulum now. That has made it in balance on our own side. But just like Lucy said, she said, we are not saying men should be vulnerable every time. We're not saying men should cry every time. Men, when they are in their rigid states, they are rigid to everybody, to their brothers, to their sisters, to the wife, to the husband. But when it's time to be flexible, even if it's just one time, be flexible. Let down your guard. Be vulnerable. Don't say no. Like they say in Yoruba, now, I want to now talk about traditional men. When it comes to traditional men, it's a no-go area. Traditional men would rather die with the high BP than to say it out. Why is that?
Traditional men. I think traditional men have actually going already. They're going out of extinction already.
Oh, I think I know of one.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So, okay, so now that's one. You probably say that he was raised by a traditional man.
Definitely.
Like a thick traditional man. You know, so now the aspect of that, I think this is how I'm going to say that. In that aspect, I think some men really are sometimes very rigid. And this is how I believe that I think it is okay to feel bad. It is okay to feel pain. You know, I used to body myself with not responding to people in such a way that I have a template for how I believe I should respond to people. So when I go out of it, I start feeling bad, you know, and then I start feeling bad. You know, so one time I told myself, Miracle, it is okay to actually be a human. You know, I mean, it is okay to be a human. And so what's being a human? Being a human is like being a human, that anything can affect you. And you have to respond to whatever really affects you. You know, so I tell myself every time, and I tell people every time that, see, your feelings are valid, but your behavior is what really matters. And so I think that men should be vulnerable, yet, but in being vulnerable, you should actually watch your behavior. So it's really about that, really. Because there's always repercussion for everything, yeah? And so how consistent that is determines the consequences. So if men would always be vulnerable, if men always have to be vulnerable, I think that men should be vulnerable, yes, but know how to be vulnerable. And in being vulnerable, just don't do it because you want to be vulnerable. But be mindful of your behavior, even in being rigid. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So some women probably when they're in period, and then, some women don't always act the way some women act, when they don't talk to anybody, they just, like my sister, sometimes she'll be crying and everything. And when she does that, just let her be, okay. Oh. But there's some women that they still, address issues, they still talk, they still, attend to issues, and you will not know. That's why I feel like in those moments, not because they don't want to be vulnerable, but they've taken charge of their behavior in such a way that they're masters over their behavior. So they determine what they want to give to you, not what society expects from them to give back. And so that's how I feel. So I feel like men, it's okay, men, to be human, really. Like, let's just be human. It's okay to be human. It's okay to feel bad. It's okay to know that you made a mistake. Mm-hmm. It's okay to feel like, okay, I wasn't supposed to do this, but I did this. But it takes time. And because parental care also affects the upbringing of men that we see today. So it will be hard, but that's why you have to be careful of your circle, like I always say. So you choose a circle that helps you become better as a man. So because you imagine, the worst part is, as a man, imagine you don't know you have a problem. That's the worst part. Because if you lack self-awareness as a man, like, it's way dangerous. Yeah.
To be honest, I think most men do not know. Well, let's take a few comments. Lucy, please help us with a few ones.
Yemoh says men need to be vulnerable with family and friends without being seen as weak. Yeah. Real Estate with Ephraim says, honestly, I don't think as a society we're ready to accept men crying. In fact, very recently, I saw a man crying on his wedding day, and I honestly felt somehow about it. It's a society thing. He also says, socially, females are publicly empathized. A man being vulnerable will cause severe neglect because it's expected that a man figures things out, and that's okay. Charlene Edwards says, good morning all. We definitely need to prioritize men's mental health because toxic masculinity is killing our society in many ways. Yeah. And she responded to Ephraim's quotes. She says, true, because we're programmed that way. It's sad and it needs to change. I think we need to teach males to know when to be vulnerable. Tasha Jones says the lack of emotions and vulnerability in males lead to anger that manifests as abusive in their relationship. Thank you very much, Tasha. God bless you.
God bless you for that line. Please, can I talk on that? So recently, I met a person, no details. I met someone that I realized that this person has something he's dealing with, and he's always defensive. He's always trying to manipulate things. He will never accept responsibility. Instead, we turn the case around and make you feel like you are the cause of the problem. Now, for example, you did something wrong to my phone, and I'm asking you, okay, why did you do something wrong to my phone? But instead, you're reminding me of, you didn't know that one time you talked about somebody's phone. You know that one time you said you're not going to raise your voice, but now you're raising your voice. So it's no longer about the phone. It's not about you raising your voice. It's not about, and I'm like, okay, no, this is not it. I am not 19 anymore. I am not in my early 20s anymore. I know what I want, right? So I feel like when they that's the right one. When they do that thing, it starts to tell that they themselves, they don't know when they're doing something wrong. You see a lot of men saying, Obirini file. It means she's a female, leave her. So can we now start saying,
why are you crying like a woman? That statement. Are you crying like a woman?
You see, that's the thing. You see, that's the thing. You see, it is not a man thing. It's a lack of self-awareness thing that applies to both women. See, it happens. It's not a man thing. It's a lack of self-awareness, if you think about it very well. So, one time I had an argument with this guy. And this guy, this guy was talking. And, my man was like, said, culture is causing problem. I'm like, but what are you? Sure, all right. You are the one. You are doing opposite of what you are saying. Yeah. And in my mind, like, at that moment here, I just thought about miracle. Sometimes that's how you behave when you think you know something too much. So I think what men should learn to do is learn to, practice self-reflection. And it applies to everybody. Really. Like, you would not know what you're capable of doing except you find yourself in a situation where you're like, oh, nice. So sometimes I think it's lack of self-awareness. So that's why I tell men that, you have to know that you want to be a better man.
Yeah.
You have to know that you have a deficiency in you as a man in areas that would be problem to other people.
Please. Men believe they are always right. Men believe they don't make mistakes. Men believe whatever they say is right. If you're having arguments,
no. Men don't believe that whatever they say is always right. But women always want men to be the man that they want.
Okay, that's another conversation for another day. But we have like 2 minutes to wrap
something.
up.
Can I do so?
Do
Topic says prioritizing men's mental health.
Exactly.
Right? And I think that one way this can be achievable is if we have support systems that actually work for men.
Exactly.
It's easy to say for women because, I mean, in the society, women are marginalized. There's, women problem. In fact, we have a lot of Women's Day, a lot of celebration. Everybody wants to just pamper the woman. But we don't hear as much when it comes to the men. Support groups. I mean, I'm sure even if they call it, how many people will show up? How many of the men will actually show up?
Follow my fellow man.
How many of these men will show up for these support groups? I feel like if we can amplify, and just be more intentional about the support groups to help men, probably their mental health can be.
So that's where women come in too. Let the man be the man, but be a form of, not a thorn in his flesh, but something that triggers his ability to reflect on his actions, not make him think the way you expect him to think.
We really have to go. We really, really have to go. But once again, thank you very much for coming.
You.
I think my own parting shot will be men should be teachable too. In as much as we feel like women should be teachable, men should be teachable and at times be flexible. Don't be King Kong in your house. You deserve to be happy. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Ladies, thank you very much.
Thank you.
God's Beauty Israel. There's a party
happy
Happy birthday. Thank you very much, Oluchi.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much.
And this is where we'll wrap up the show for today. If you get to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Official Upgrade TV, do that now. Don't be a man. Press the subscribe button now. And then once again, happy birthday to Ambassador Yomi David. Please do enjoy the rest of the day. Stay sharp and bye for now.